Subtle skills, big results.
Welcome to the Ninja Selling Podcast. Welcome back to the Ninja Selling Podcast. Garrett and Matt are here again. Matt and Garrett. Who do I lead in with? Matt and Garrett. I think that's appropriate. Matt and Garrett are here again. Super excited to be with you guys today. We have a fun topic. We're going to kind of expand in an opposite direction of what we were talking about here a little while back. I want to start off with today that with anything you want to know about Ninja, if you want to get deeper into your understanding of Ninja, if you are new to Ninja and you're like, what in the world is all this stuff these guys are talking about because you were just told to come and listen to this podcast, go to ninjaselling.com. You can learn all about Ninja there. There's great videos that'll give some background of what we call the path and what that looks like. You can get to know all of our team and who we all are. There are upcoming events between installations and masteries. You can learn about coaching there. Everything you need to know about Ninja is at ninjaselling.com. Go check it out. And if you want to be part of our Ninja Selling Podcast group on Facebook, we want to welcome you to come join us. We're at 7,500 people now and growing, maybe 76 by right now as we're talking about this. So again, amazing group. I'm still blown away by the support and the interaction and the camaraderie that's coming out of that group is really spectacular. So thank you so much for everybody being involved in that. Again, come join us if you're not a part of it. And other than that, Matt, let's jump in.
Let's do it.
Because we today want to talk about focusing on what you want and putting your dreams and your visions out there. And this is a great time. We're just rounded up first quarter here. We are now officially in second quarter as all of you are listening to this. And this is a great time to kind of step back and take a look at where you're at, where you want to go. And Matt and I want to talk about the tools that you have at your disposal or your fingertips to make sure that you are staying on track and focused with the path of where you're heading to. Different than what you're complaining or worried about, like we talked about a little while back. This is positive we're talking about today. So Matt, good morning.
Good morning, Garrett. And good morning, everyone, or good evening, or good afternoon. Hopefully you've digested that episode from, that was probably a couple weeks back now, and have been practicing the gratitudes that we talked about in that. Garrett, this phrase that is surrounding Ninja Selling that we talk about all the time, that is everywhere, really, what you focus on expands. I don't recall who actually is originally attributed with saying that. It's probably someone that I should know. Anyway, what you focus on expands is a real thing. Problem is if you go back to that episode, I think a lot of people are focusing on that negativity or focusing on lack. This happens a lot, I think, too, at the end of first quarter as people are looking at their goal and everything. If you're killing your goal, like awesome, you're like, sweet, let's keep going. If you're on track or behind, I see a lot of, well, I don't know, maybe I should adjust. And now you're starting to focus on that adjustment versus just continuing to focus on the goal and the things that we want to attract into our lives. And it's a good reminder to return to the business plan, as you said, but also vision boards and visualization and starting to really say, hey, this is where I want to go. And let me figure out how I can focus so intently on that because, well, Garrett, you're hearing this too, right? Spring market is a thing again, only it's a thing with buyers. The listing flow is still like the same, but there's more buyers, if you can believe it. And so everyone is, again, that four-letter word, busy. And the first thing to go out the window is visualization, affirmations, focusing on what you want. And so we want to pull that back in.
Self-care mentally and physically goes out the window typically when we have a lot on our plate. It's like, where can I find time? Well, I don't need to go to the gym today. Like, I can skip a day. Skipping a day turns into 2 days. Then all of a sudden you're not somebody who goes to the gym anymore. It was something you used to do.
Yeah. Or it's like, well, I'm just going to have, pizza tonight. And then it's the next night. And then it's a bottle of wine. And then it's, a 6-pack of beer. And it's like, wait a minute, where was the person who is eating healthy, the majority of the time?
So I think like this is that time to stand back. And I lightly mentioned business plans, Matt, but this is a great time to sit back and pull out your business plan. One part of your business plan is, well, at least the ones that we do through coaching, is we have you break down all your year into 4 quarters. And this is your time to pull out now the first and the second quarter. And you get a chance to ask yourself, okay, how did I do with my first quarter? Not just business-wise, but all the things that I wanted to create, all the things I wanted to do, all the results that I wanted to see. And stop and ask yourself, okay, how did we do? Did we crush it? And if we crushed it, we should celebrate. If there's things that we didn't get done, it's your time to step back, Matt, and say, what fell down? What broke down in my process that I had planned there? And then how can we recover from it? And once you figure that out about that first quarter, now we've got this brand new quarter with new goals, new things we want to accomplish with the time that we have. And this is our time now to sit back and say, okay, how are we going to be successful with this? With all the craziness of business going on and with all the buyers, because there's a lot of buyers out there right now. It's a lot. So that's where I would start right now, Matt, is first things first is just get deep into your business plans again. And you don't need to go through every page of it. Our business plan is what, Matt? How many pages? Like 20 some odd?
Somewhere between 20 and 30.
Do not go through every page, but you know what I'm talking about. You need your mission statement, your whys, you need your goals, and you need those quarterly breakdowns to step back and have this meeting with yourself.
The simple actions that you wrote down that you said would lead to success this year, right? And because you mentioned, how can we get back on track if we were behind? Where instead of saying, oh, well, this is the reason why, and this is the reason why, and then the excuses come in. It's like, no. Curb the excuse monster.
My first quarter is always slow.
Yeah. Curb the excuse monster. Focus on what are the actions that, how can we pull out of this? And that's how you're going to be able to move forward. But Garrett, I want to share actually 2 stories about focus that are personal to me because they're my stories. Well, so it's our podcast, so we can share our stories today.
Go ahead, talk about yourself.
The first of which is vision board, right? And now maybe this was a little bit more structured and planned for my world, but on my vision board, I have an eruption green Ford Bronco. Many of you who have been with us for a long time know that a Ford Raptor has been on my vision board for a long time. Not on the current vision board, but still in my vision very, very much, by the way. So if anybody's selling a Ford Performance Blue Raptor with the blue Recaro seats inside, hit me up. Anyway, I have this eruption green Bronco on here, which I did order. So I did place this order last year. So no coincidence that it's on my vision board, but I had no idea when this thing is going to arrive. I was told maybe May, right? And so I've had this on my vision board, looking at it every single day. Well, about 2 weeks ago, it arrived in my driveway and it's sitting there right now in the driveway.
You've never heard a more excited Matt. I was getting texts the minute that it arrived on the ground in Charleston. He's like, you're not going to believe what's here.
It's a beautiful car. It's a truck, I should say. It's awesome. It's fun. It's great. And it is now sold. So I bought it 2 weeks ago and I signed the paperwork yesterday. It is sold. So what's interesting.
That's how much he loves it.
What's fascinating about this, and I was thinking about this in vision boards and what you focus on, is I was focused on that Bronco arriving to me, but I necessarily wasn't focused on what its purpose was. Like, yes, I knew I was going to have fun driving it, but I didn't determine how long that would be. And the reason why it's sold is because someone is paying me a good amount over sticker price to take it away from me. And what's interesting is I resisted it at first, like, why would I sell this? Like, am I crazy? Like, shouldn't I just keep this? And then I realized, well, my vision, how do I connect that to the bigger goal of where I want to go? And this vision and this focus of me bringing that into my world is now serving a purpose to help fund something else that I want to do. That's part of my bigger goal and vision. That's also part of my vision board. So I think that's very interesting, Garrett. When you think about the vision board, we're not always sure exactly how those things are going to serve us. But if we don't focus on them, we don't even give them a chance to serve us.
Well, I even go farther with this, is that I think a lot of times we put visions on our vision board, and normal how it works is we actually obtain it. We create it. And I've watched it happen too many times to be like, oh, that was a fluke or that was a coincidence. It's like, no, there's a reason that thing showed up exactly the way that it did. And it was interesting, Matt, you've been in a place of some pretty high clarity. You've been doing 75 hard now for how many days?
Today's day 58.
Yeah, I said that and I'm like, oh man, I hope he's still on it. So 58 today. So you've been a space of some pretty high clarity for yourself. Anybody doesn't know 75 hard, go check it out. But it's a pretty good mental test for yourself, which makes you get very clear. I think it's interesting because when that truck arrived, you started throwing out ideas to me. I guess it's a Bronco. It's not a truck. Sorry. When that Bronco arrived, you started throwing out ideas and you're like, well, I could use it this way. I could use it this way. I could use it this way. And I think you had a very clear vision around getting the Bronco. What I don't think you had a clear, I'm totally calling you out here right now. What I don't think you had a clear vision about is what would that Bronco be in your life? And what does it look like in your life? And so when all these options started coming up of like, I could do this, I could do this, I could do this. Oh, you're willing to pay me what? That sounds pretty good. Okay, so maybe this, maybe that. Now you had these choices because one of the things you threw out, which I was like fascinated to watch it play out, you're like, and maybe I turn this into a bigger picture in my head, but you're like, what if I did some like YouTube videos or like a thing where it was like dad going out, like exploring trails with his daughters in the Bronco? I'm like, dude, people would love that. Like, that would be, I would tune into that all the time to watch Matt and his daughters breaking away from society, going out into the trails and just exploring the world. And I was like, yes, like I want that to come to be. Like, I want that to happen. And Matt's like, selling it.
Like the next day, I was like, I'm selling it.
I was so excited about this vision of like where it was going and like what this was going to be. And I think that this goes back to like play out your vision on your vision board too. And I'm not saying it's a negative because for Matt, like this is a huge win for you also. This is your world, your life.
Oh, huge win. I could go place an order for another one and wait for that one to arrive and just enjoy the money that I made from this one.
And it would be interesting to see, like, with this next vision of this next one of what you want it to be and what you want it to look like, go farther with the vision to be like, now, what does this thing, what would it mean in my life when it shows up? What am I excited about having this thing to see where it takes you on that, like complete the vision on the vision board, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
I've seen it happen. I put the vision board up on mine, of at least my truck up on mine years ago. I've shared this with people. And when I put my vision up, my vision was to have my car paid off. It was my payment stub with a zero for the balance. And I was always like, I've always wanted to have my car paid off. Like, won't this be awesome? I'm going to get my car paid off. I sold the car. On the date that I had on there, I sold the car, which technically paid off, but I didn't have the vision completed of me having a free a paid off car. Like that didn't come to be because it wasn't what the vision was technically. And so I think if we're going to focus on like these visioning and like focusing on really what you want right now, get really clear on what you want it to be so that as those opportunities show up around you, you know what paths to take. I still want you to do the videos, by the way, through daughters. I'm sold.
Oh, I'll figure it out.
You're going to be famous.
I'll figure it out.
Motor Trend's going to get a hold of you and be like, dude, we see a series.
That would be amazing.
Adventure with Daughters.
We could do the podcast in there too. And there's a thought in the back of my head, which leads to, it's part of this other story. It's not complete because we can spend probably an hour talking about that. Not that idea, but what would be able to create that? What would be able to make that possible in my world in this time? Because the reason why the Bronco is being sold is really we don't need two cars. We have one car and we don't need two.
I don't even understand what having one car means. Like that doesn't even make any sense to me. Like, how do you function? I've got like 5.
We both work from home. It's weird, right?
I work from home too with my wife. I've got 5.
There was this cool factor of being able to enjoy a Bronco for a couple of weeks, literally for free. I put a $100 deposit on this thing, put 0 down when I purchased it, and I'm going to walk away with a check a couple of weeks later. That's outrageous to me. So I was like, I just want to be able to have that story in my back pocket for grandkids, even though this is not life-changing money, by the way, people, but it's nice to have. The second story, Garrett, that I want to share, and I like your idea of the focus, like going deeper, and this kind of speaks to that too. So on my vision board last year, 2 years ago, this has been on my vision board, was to speak on a stage. And I had just kind of looked at it, never really focused in on it intently until about part of the way through last year. And you and I had been talking about speaking.
You shared it with me too. Shared vision too. You shared it with me.
Yeah, I told you, hey, this is what I would like to do. I think it would be fantastic and it would be fun to do together as well. And we did get to speak on a stage in December. So just by the end of the year, we were able to go out to Colorado and speak on a stage. After that, I had told you, hey, I want to speak on 5 next year. And this first quarter, I have on my vision board here still a picture of a person on stage in front of an audience. And like, that's something that I want to do. But I hadn't really been focused on it a lot this first quarter. And as I was starting to review my first quarter and look at what my second quarter goals are and look at my vision board, I said, hey, you know what, Matt, you have not been really fully invested in focus on this. So we need to return to that focus. And so I have been really putting that back in there. And I've made a commitment to myself that focus is going to be maintained so that vision can become a reality. And it's amazing the feeling. And I think no matter what you're focused on, Garrett, there's a different level of energy and rejuvenation that comes into you when you can really freely focus on something without the scarcity coming into it, without the, oh, but that can't, right? And knowing how that vision can serve you. So I'm really excited about it, bringing that focus back in. And so I'd love to hear your thoughts on when you have that shift back into that focus. How have you seen that help people accelerate towards whatever that vision is?
It's funny, anytime I see somebody put hyper focus into a goal or a vision, a lot of times I watch them give the power away to coincidence. Yeah, they don't take ownership and like, I just created that, or I just made that happen, or I just manifested something. And very quickly they go, yeah, but there was all these factors that went into it. So I'm curious now, and Matt, this is just a very open conversation between the two of us that everybody else is involved in. I contacted you a week and a half ago saying, we've been asked to come and speak at a company event. How close was that to you refocusing your energy on speaking, to me coming to you and saying like, hey, there's an opportunity here that's just been presented to us. Are you in?
I would say that was maybe a precursor and a catalyst for me, only because I had these reasons why speaking would be tough this year. Well, me traveling 5 times this year is going to be hard. It's going to be hard on Jen. It's going to be hard on the kids, particularly since she now has a full-time job.
Very negative thought process.
Yeah, very negative. Well, so part of the thing that opened it up for me was one, that two, Jen's going to be traveling several times this year for shows. And I'm excited for her because this new job, she's super excited about it, getting to do exactly what she wants to do. Talk about holding a vision. And I'm like, well, we can make this work. This can totally work. I can easily travel. I mean, this isn't like I'm going to go away for a week. We're talking about flying in, doing an event, staying overnight, flying out. We can make this happen. And so I think that all that around the same time, which has all happened in the past, I'd say 3 weeks or so, right? Really kind of made me rethink of, okay, this needs to be a priority focus because that's something I want to do. I love doing that. And we can impact a lot of people by doing that. And now's the time.
So it's interesting. So what you experienced is you experienced a reality shift. Your reality before was saying, my reality is this: Jen's working, we've got the kids, we've got all this going on, she's traveling. This is going to be hard on Jen, hard on the kids, hard on our household to make this work. Where all of a sudden you have this reality shift and you have this moment where you're like, wait, I now can see how this could potentially work. I could totally fly out, stay in a hotel, teach the next day, and be home the following evening, or maybe even the same afternoon. It's interesting when you have that, oh, that's a whole different way of I thought how this could work. And a lot of times our negative stuff that we bring in is based off of how we perceive it's probably going to work. And this goes back to focusing on it exactly what you want and exactly the way that you want it. And now that you know that, you can focus on how many times this year, 5 times this year, I'm going to get on stage and it's going to be a quick trip in and out. I can come be involved in a company's lives and be back home with my wife. And that is a vision that I can support. Get real clear. And that's why I say on your vision board, get real clear what the final outcome is going to be around that vision.
Yeah, absolutely. And who knows, maybe those events will even be within driving distance, some of them, which would be amazing, but it's going to happen. So shifting back, Garrett, into the focus, right? What you focus on expands. I'm curious to hear from you. What have you experienced? And I know this is kind of us sharing today a little bit, but hopefully these anecdotes, these stories help other people really figure out how their focus can get more intense. But what have you experienced in terms of how you've been focusing on certain things this year and how it's created expansion of whatever it is that you were focused on?
Well, I think it's interesting. So like, I don't know if everybody knows that's listening to this. So I basically founded and run the coaching program. And so with doing that and growing that over the years, we're always in this state of growth. And we've been in this crazy state of growth in this last couple of years. It's been really phenomenal and very fun. And I think, when you look at like things to focus on in a growing business, it's very easy to get sucked into weird paths sometimes of roadblocks and hurdles and stuff where you have a vision of where you want to go. And there's like, because it's not just us, because there's lots of people involved in making this all work and where it's going, it's very easy to get bogged down in certain things where you're like, that doesn't work, this doesn't work, this could work over here. And I have found this year, particularly, like there's a couple aspects of business that I have like complete control over. And I can go 100% on focusing on that and what I want those final outcomes to be. And like one of my main focuses this year is finding amazing coaches. That is like my number one goal for this year is just finding incredible coaches, which means I have to go through a lot. It's a lot of time, it's a lot of energy, to go through in that process. And of course, you have that wanting to say yes to everybody because people are nice. I like people. I really do. I really love everybody. I do. Very few people that I'm like, yeah, that person drives me crazy. Most often there's always enough great stuff around people that I'm like, I can ignore that stuff. Like I love this. And for me, like my number one focus this year is head down on that parameter and that path, which is fascinating because there's times that I'll go through in running this business where in my mind, I'm like, I'm having a hard time finding good coaches. I'm having a hard time finding good coaches. I'm having a hard time finding good coaches, which is funny is it just perpetuates that. And I keep looking into my database of people that are potential and going like, no, they're not there. They're not there. And it's funny when I switch my mindset into this idea of like coaches are coming from everywhere. There's great coaches all around us. Every time I turn around, there's a great person coming into my world that checks all the boxes. It's amazing how all of a sudden they start showing up. And so for me, like, and again, personally, this has been one of my big focuses this year. And one of the things that I know it's like, okay, I can create that all day long around this. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's where my energy has been put a lot this year, staying really positive. I can say really positive around that. And I know I can create it. And this goes back into like when you put these visions out here to have the trust and confidence in yourself that you can create it. The more you believe in yourself that you can create it, the more the results show up, the stronger they show up. The more you look at a vision and you go, yeah, I don't know. Like my neighbor has that Raptor, but I don't know if I see it in my driveway yet. Sorry, Matt.
That neighbor moved, by the way.
I think the more that little stuff can kind of come up, like it can be detrimental in you receiving these goals and these visions. So I'm very selective. When I look at my visioning and what my goals are, I really put the things on there that I can get a very clear picture out of my mind of obtaining. Like I can like watching it all come together, that little voice that comes up that may be negative around it, kind of try to push that away as much as possible. That's been my number one focus this year right now.
Well, I think what's interesting is underlying your focus are supportive focus activities. Having conversations with coaches, putting it out there that you're looking for coaches, identifying the type of people that you enjoy working with and the people that you want to have in your world. And I think that's a big part because the vision, the goal, and what you focus on expands are two separate things. And I think what you focus on expands is a path toward the vision to help the vision come through when it's meant to and when it's not. Clearly, I'm not meant to have the Raptor yet. I mean, when I say things like we don't need two cars, that's an easy way of affirming, yeah, don't need it yet. And so when you talk about, I love being surrounded by great people, that supports the vision. It doesn't mean that all of a sudden tomorrow 20 coaches are going to get dumped in your lap, but it does put that energy out there to start to attract those things so that the universe can set in motion the series of events. And because sometimes we will set those events in motion and then we stop it. We hit the pause button. The universe goes, oh, okay, hold on. We'll pause production for a moment here until we get the green light to go again. And so I think the challenge here is determining the daily focuses. I understand that this is a challenge, but it also is easy to do. We just have to be reminded. We have to set up systems in our world like vision boards that help remind us of, let me focus on this over here because that's what I want to attract more of in my life. I want to attract more abundance. I want to attract more love. I want to attract more whatever it is, instead of then shifting the focus to what we talked about several weeks ago, which is, oh man, there's just so many hard things going on. That's challenging. That's tough. I can't this. And for those of you who have gone through 75 Hard or who are starting 75 Hard or are thinking about it, it is a really interesting program because you get to battle those voices inside your head every day. I mean, yesterday was a great example for me when I was like, man, I don't want to do that today. Okay.
There's lots of ways you can challenge yourself. So like, you're doing 75 Hard. I've never done 75 Hard. And I don't want to do it enough to like commit to it.
It's not the end all be all of programs.
But like, I know like my challenge that I do for myself to kind of like reset, refocus, clarify, like I do a 10-day fast. I've done it already once this year and I'm getting ready to do it again. I'm doing it right now. I'm in day 2 of a 10-day fast.
Glad that we got you on day 2 instead of like day 3 or 4.
Day 3 or 4 is the hard one. Then it's all clarity from there. Day 3 or 4 can be, interesting. I'm not putting that out there, by the way. This time it's going to be great. But I think that like, anything you can do to get some control of yourself, I think will allow you to have more power with your vision. I think a lot of people, and I could be speaking out of tune here a little bit, but I think a lot of people don't have really full control over themselves. They're kind of running through this world. They're taking things as they happen around them. And I think for you to really have power over like your visions and your goals and your business plans that you set for yourself, first need to be able to control yourself. And 75 hard is a great way to see like, can I take control of this brain, the monkey brain, and all the stuff going on? My fast for me is a great way for me just to be like, because everyone's like, how did the world do you last for 10 days? Even my wife, when I said I'm doing it, she goes, I'll do this with you, but I'm not doing all 10 days. Like, I'm not in. For me, it's like, it is so clarifying and grounding to be at day 10 and to have a moment of like, do I want to go back to normal life that I had before? Do I want to bring certain things back in? Do I want to keep certain things away? Like, I'm in complete control now what I want to bring back into my world. And I think it's a great spot for people to go through, whether it's 75 hard, whether it's a fast, whether it's something else you decide to do that's challenging, mentally challenging that you have to commit to. It's a great way then to open your brain up for a vision board and your business plan and taking ownership.
That's such a good point. That's one element that we don't touch on a lot when we introduce what you focus on expands. I mean, there's a lot of great science behind reticular activating systems, energy, and all that kind of stuff, but you have to be in control first or use it as a way to get into control. And the best part is, Garrett, you can start at any point. There's no missed opportunities with this. There's no missed opportunities with what you focus on expands. There's just what you focus on today will expand into your world tomorrow. So what is it that you want to bring into your world and how can you focus on it today? This goes back to what you said about pulling out your business plan and looking at Q2 things and saying, hey, what happened in the first quarter and how can we adjust? Yeah, how can we focus on those things today to bring into our world tomorrow what we really want to have so that we can be on that path towards hitting all these visions? And I got these vision boards in both places.
Well, and I think it's good to acknowledge too that we all have a lot of moving parts in our life. Like, and I look at my world and I've got 2 17-year-old girls that are getting ready to go off to college right now. And I'm getting pulled in 10 different directions of end of year stuff for seniors, prom, senior trips, getting out to these schools and getting another look at them, and then I've got my son and we got all kinds of stuff going on with him and where he's needing to go and what he needs. And you start layering all these things on. And then all of a sudden, like, if you don't have a good focus and a good vision around all these things, you just don't know how to handle them. Because my kids are like, I love all of you out there. These people, like, I made a commitment to them 17 years ago. I made a commitment to my son 14 years ago that they get my attention first. But if I don't focus on that and not really clear about it on an everyday basis, like, it's very easy to overrun that stuff. They're the most understanding people I have in my life. That if I was to say I can't make it to that because I got something else going on, they're not going to sit back and yell at me. They're going to be like, okay, Dad, like, we love you. Like, sorry, you're going to miss it. But that's how fast, like, if you don't have the good vision, the good clarity around it, you can make decisions that don't give you the results that you want. And the only reason I say that is because I think sometimes we listen to others and we go like, oh, but their life is different than mine. Oh, they don't have as much going on as I maybe have going on in my world. And I sometimes I disagree with that. I think we all have a crazy amount of stuff going on.
And it doesn't matter what anybody else has going on. When you start doing that, you are losing focus for what you want to attract into your world. And you're actually telling the universe, I don't like success. Let's say you look at somebody and be like, well, they don't have these things. And so they're able to do that. You're telling the universe, I don't like what they have. I don't want those things. And the universe is listening. And so we have to be very careful about how we focus on those micro actions every single day to attract into things. And this is an awesome thing. What I would love, Garrett, from this is for everybody who's listening, if you're still with us, to then make a commitment to just figure out what are some little things you can start to focus on. The cool thing is there's going to be an energy that vibrates out from all of you. It's going to be connected and it is going to compound. So if we're all working on this together, we're all going to be able to support each other, even though we may not be talking to each other and we may not know each other.
But we do know each other and we can talk to each other.
Oh, really? Where can we do that, Garrett?
This is not scripted, by the way. This sounds very scripted. We've got our group. We've got our platform there. And if anybody wants to, after listening to this, jump on there and share what your vision is, share where you want to go. I'm going to encourage everybody, be supportive in whatever anybody's vision is. If it doesn't seem like something that's attainable for you and you want to, don't tell them why, you support. It'd be very interesting to see, be it some big visions or some small visions, things you want to manifest, things you want to create, what you want to focus on, because what you focus on expands. I would love to see what people are putting out there, what they want to create over the next, let's just say over the next quarter.
Let's do it. I'd love to see it. It's going to be amazing.
It'd be cool. I'm actually very excited to see kind of what comes out of that. So we can have some fun with it.
So there it is. I mean, we could talk about this topic for a long time, Garrett, but I think everybody's got some takeaways. So let's get to it. I know that I got a lot of focus that I'm going to be diving into this second quarter for sure and beyond. A lot of stages that we got to hop on. So hopefully you're on board for that.
Yeah, I'm in.
I just want to say thank you to everybody listening. You gave them the instructions at the front. So guys, head over to facebook.com/groups/the Ninja Selling Podcast. That's where you'll find our Facebook group, and ninjaselling.com for everything else. If you like this show and you really enjoy everything that you're getting out of this, think about who might enjoy this as well and share it up to them. That really helps us get a little bit more exposure, and we appreciate all of you who do that. And we're looking to continue climbing those charts so that we can reach more people and impact more lives. So thank you, everybody. Appreciate you all very much. Have an amazing day.
Thanks, everybody. And next Friday, I will be on day 4 of my fast. So if I'm a puddle of mush, I just want to apologize now.
All right, guys.
All right. Thanks, everyone. If you enjoyed today's episode and would like more, visit us at theninjasellingpodcast.com.
There you will also find links for more information about ninja selling and coaching. Have an incredible day.